views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a lineup we're continuing to have on the show today. You all just got done listening to Claire Candy. Oh, my gosh. The phones are off the hook. And we're going to continue that right now. No my name joining me here today, healing from the inside out, overcome chronic disease, and radically change your life. Now, this is a topic that is very near and dear to me and very near and dear to many of you. We've heard your stories. We've heard what you want us to share more of. And so anytime we ask you questions and ask you, what do you want to hear more of? Why do you want to hear more of that? Then what we do is we find the best of the best. And that's today's show. No, my name is the best of the best. And what that means to me is that, Dr. Name is coming on to talk about what has he learned in this journey? But what is it about the work that he's done, the life he's said yes to, pulmonary and critical care specialist, been interested in human behavior and how to achieve unprecedented potential since a youngster. That's something he and I have in common. But beyond all of that, all the places he's traveled, all the work that he's done, caring for tens of thousands of chronically and critically ill people, he noticed something. And when you notice something about the people you're caring for, and you notice why some folks heal and why some folks don't, you pay attention. And why do you pay attention to this? You pay attention because what you're observing in yourself, if you are he, how can you get better at what you do? How can you help more people? How can you save more lives? That's why today, this show and this book is so important to the conversation, because we are seriously learning that a pill, potion, and a lotion is not going to help us. Dr. Naeem, welcome to the show. It's great to have you today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pat. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you and your listeners.
I want to get back to something I started to say at the opening, and that is when you and I say yes to our lives, whatever the yes is, and we go along the way, and we care for people, and then we start to see some people get better and some people don't. What happens is we have a new level of awareness. I would love to know from you, what was that new level of awareness? When did it happen?
That's a wonderful question. And let me start by talking about my life as a physician. I mean, I entered the field of medicine because of I've always been interested in acquiring as much knowledge as I can about as many different fields as I can as a young child, and I've always been interested in human behavior and human potential, and going to medical school was just a natural progression because it allowed me to be of service to people, learn a lot of knowledge in a short amount of time, and be able to apply that knowledge, in a practical way. So when I've been in practice now, I guess, if you include my training, for about 18 years. And, you start noting, like I've worked in 2 countries, the U.S. and Canada, over that time period. And, when you've taken care of tens of thousands of patients, which I have, which is not unique to me. I mean, there's lots of physicians who have done that. I'm not unique in that way, but I am unique in the way that I really, really was very curious about my patients and their life stories and the journeys they were going through. And I started noticing that the majority of patients with chronic illness just don't get better.
Yeah.
Their conditions are just controlled with their treatments, which involve medications and procedures and surgeries. So I've had an interest in human behavior and human potential for a long time. And I started to delve deeper and deeper into that through reading. I read literally thousands of books on consciousness, on healing, on metaphysics, on human behavior, psychology, and all my interest in human behavior, human potential I had before medical school. I started applying that.
Yeah.
And long before I became a physician, I've always wanted to do something to make a larger impact. As a physician, you impact one patient at a time. I've always been fascinated with becoming an author from the time I read my first book. And my research and my work as a physician motivated me over the last 5 years to come up with the idea for this book and write it over 2 years. And I finished it last summer, and it's going to be out in a week or so.
Well, and one of the things that there are a number of things that caught my attention in the book. But one of them is I was reading and I don't remember exactly where it is, but I remember the line that said something like, medicine categorizes or departmentalizes people as if they are mechanical objects when they are not. And, I think about that a lot because that is a trend and a direction that's happening in our conventional medicine arena. Now, I will say that's not my experience, and I've been very, very fortunate here in the Seattle area to work with some of the best natural chronic illness doctors on the planet, pretty much,
Right.
So I want to ask you, this departmentalization, what have you discovered about it in terms of not just the physical effect on people, but the mental and emotional effect?
Well, when you look at, I'm going to go back to the title of my book, which is Healing from the Inside Out. Now, if you look at the word heal, it has the origins in German from the word heilen, Heilen. And what that word means is whole. So healing for me, not for me, but the definition of healing is to make whole.
Yeah.
And what that means is to cultivate and integrate all the different levels of your being. Now, when I talk about this extensively, actually, that's what my book is about. But but just to put it in a nutshell, what it means is to cultivate and integrate the physical, the mental, the emotional, the vibrational, and the spiritual. And when we look at conventional medicine and the healthcare system today, aside from holistic healthcare practitioners and functional medicine, what they do is that they only focus on that one aspect, the most superficial aspect of who we are, which is physical. And that's the medications and procedures and surgeries. Now, I'm not saying that those things are not necessary at some stage of disease and illness and injury. I mean, conventional medicine, it does wonders for acute infections, for traumatic injuries. If I have a broken hip, I want to go see an orthopedic surgeon, right? I'm not going to sit there and meditate on my broken hip and think it's going to heal.
Right.
But the thing is, for chronic disease, and it's my experience that it has largely not done justice to the patients that conventional medicine treats, and that they continue to live with symptoms and continue to suffer despite our best efforts.
Yeah. The thing that I love that we're talking about is, first of all, we're going to take a little journey down the road here of this idea of chronic, right? This idea of chronic, what's chronic? Chronic illness. It's a term we now use that has developed its own kind of energy, its own kind of, I think, stigma around it, what it is. The other thing that's important to notice is that we're not just talking about the physical aspect of this when we're talking about chronic either. and you're really clear about that in the book. Right now we have more diagnoses for mental illness than ever before in history anywhere for anything. Categorically, every time something happens now, it gets a category. And, the question I wanted to ask you, and talk about this when we come back from break, if we could, is, the gift of this. In the book, you're really clear. Your illness is a gift is what you say. Now, having been chronically ill myself, I can look back and say that that's true. But the paradox of this is so important to discuss. Let's take a short break. When we come back, what is it about the paradox of your illness that has you at one level, I want to move forward, at another level, I want to move back? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. When we come back, we'll talk more about healing from the inside out. We're taking your calls, too. 1-800-930-2819. 1-800-930-2819. Yeah. If it's a gift, how will my life change? Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Awareness is universal. Establishing a living awareness through meditation brings peaceful, healthy, and creative well-being into your everyday life. The practice of living awareness, Spirit Fire's own meditation practice, is built on this belief and is designed for every level of practitioner. Each year, Spirit Fire hosts living awareness meditation retreats that allow you to explore the practice in depth at our retreat center in beautiful Western Massachusetts. Introduce yourself to meditation and the practice at the Foundation's retreat. Attend, in silence, a silent meditation retreat focused on mindfulness, presence, and nature, or be engaged with the meditation sittings themselves at the Deepening Retreat. Start adding to your awareness and attend a meditation retreat designed to cultivate consciousness in your everyday life. For details on attending a Living Awareness meditation retreat, visit upcoming events at www.spiritfire.com.
Hey, did you know why they call the foundation the foundation? It's called the foundation because it completely eliminates your foundation for what you thought your reality was and creates a whole new space where you can have an entirely new reality that is foundationless. So from my point of view, they should call it the unfoundation or the foundationlessness. Either way, there's a big new global rewrite happening again because these guys cannot stop changing. There should be like a Change Anonymous that Gary and Dane go to. And it's happening April 28th to May 1st. You can find out about it at accessconsciousness.com/global foundation. It's happening in Paris. Go to Paris or do it online or find a pod near you. These are all the options you have. And what else is possible?
Live your magnificence, for the love of joy is a precious gift offered to us by Robert Schoenfeld, host of the Art of Powerful Living Radio. He takes us on an incredible 30-day adventure to expand our minds and hearts with the nectar of life, love, and joy. This book will help you bring more joy, love, health, abundance, adventure, romance, and magnificence into your life.
Are you feeling stagnant or blocked in your love life, career, health, or finances? Experiencing difficulty focusing or setting and achieving goals? Tune in to Spiritual Diagnostics Radio with psychic visionary healers Carol Dorian and Justice Welling. Discover the cause and effect of unwanted patterns in life. Tune in every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. For more information, visit spiritualdeed.com.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit jenroyster.com for more information.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Maybe we'll save some time, Benny, later on today and talk about the MTV Awards. But today we're talking about healing from the inside out, overcome chronic disease, and radically change your life. Noman, would you do me a favor before we kind of get into this conversation, which we're going to get into about, illness as a gift? How can people find out more about you, but also how can they get a copy of your book?
Right. So I'm going to give you my web address. There's actually two URLs to it, but the easiest one is healingfromtheinsideoutbook.com. Awesome. All together, all lowercase. There's no spaces or hyphens or anything. Just healingfromtheinsideoutbook.com. On that, you'll see a link to Amazon where you can pre-order my book. Actually, it's no longer a pre-order. It's actually people are getting it in the mail. And it's also going to be available at all major bookstores, Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, Powell Books, which is the largest independent bookseller in the U.S., and in Canada at Indigo and Chapters, and worldwide at all major bookstores. So.
Awesome. Well, it's a powerful message because we're learning in many, many ways, not just about, physical illness that has to do with a diagnosis like cancer or Lyme disease, but we're also learning about addictions, both drug and alcohol addictions. We're learning that without addressing the inside as well as the out, the success rate is not very good.
Right.
This one particular thing I want to talk with you about before we get starting was this surprise for me on my own healing journey. And that surprise is this notion of looking at whatever the thing is you have as a gift. And you actually call it paradoxical. And I'd love for you to talk more about that.
Right. That's actually the first chapter in my book. That's how I started out. This is the thing. I'm going to start out by mentioning, and science has shown that, 95% of chronic illness is what we call epigenetic. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that only 5% of the illnesses that we suffer from have a hereditary nature, which means that epigenetic means the environment in which what the DNA, our genes, are exposed to. And the environment is not just the physical environment, but it's also the amount of stress that the individual has, their thoughts, their emotions, all their experiences that they're going through. So what I'm trying to say is that most illnesses have their root at deeper levels than the physical. And, stress has been shown to be a factor in 90% of chronic diseases. So when I say that your illness is a gift, it's because your illness is a gift because it's pointing to some sort of disruption at your core. And what that illness is, that it is a sign that you need to go deeper within to find out why this is happening and why you are suffering from this condition. And this is a completely different paradigm from the way that the majority of people and the medical profession is trained to look at disease and illness. I mean, I wasn't trained to, this is something that I had to do my own personal research and discovery to discover this. This is not taught to us in medical school at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just taught the physical model, the physiologic and biologic model of disease and illness. But there's a lot more to that. So that's what I mean when I say your illness is a gift. And it's the paradox of illness, is that you want to overcome the illness. At the same time, it's there for a reason. And all of us owe it to ourselves to take that deep dive, to find out what's the source and the cause. And it can be scary. I mean, I'm not going to, delude anybody and say that it takes courage. And, it's not an easy journey. And I'm sure that you can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I think one of the key things out of the gate is to know that, number one, it is a journey. So let's start with that conversation, because most of the time something goes on with us, and let's really, dissect this a little bit if we could. This is a book that talks about overcome chronic disease. And this is what we're hearing more and more about that's going on and is on the rise in many, many ways. I mean, I was talking to you during the break, and just the fact that the CDC had to adjust the number of incidents of Lyme disease last year enormously, which still isn't right, is just talks to that. But let's talk about this difference between chronic disease and I've got a cold, because that's really what we're talking about. See, if I've got a cold, I'm going to run down to my local, pharmacy, and maybe I'm going to get some Tylenol, or I'm going to get something, because that's what I'm going to do, because I know that's going to kind of work, sort of. Right. But that's not what I'm going to do if I wake up and my entire body's in pain. Right.
Exactly.
Or I might, though.
You might.
Yeah.
You might. Because we're not talking about, this is not about, when we have symptoms, we want to alleviate those symptoms, right? And this is what conventional medicine does. But what conventional medicine doesn't do is facilitate that deeper dive to find the source of your symptoms and your illness. Let's talk about the common cold. We're exposed to viruses all the time. They're always around us. Now, let's look at two individuals. Just hypothetical individuals. One person gets colds all the time, almost every few weeks, and the other person can go years without experiencing any symptoms of a cold. And if you were to look at those two hypothetical individuals, what I think you would find, and I'm just starting at a superficial level, is that there's a difference in those two individuals' immune systems. But one of the biggest factors that affects our immune system is our experience of stress. Now, what I mean by our experience of stress is that we're all under stress, okay? The world we live in is so complex, especially with technology and being able to communicate in numerous ways. And, there's no privacy anymore. Anyone can reach you anywhere. But the thing is, I'm not even talking about removing stress, because that's almost impossible to do if you live in the modern world. It's how we deal with that stress, how we handle that stress. And a lot of that has to do with our thoughts, has to do with our emotions, it has to do with our personal stories, has to do with any traumatic experiences we've had. It has to do with our vibrational frequency, our spiritual self. There's a lot of factors. So what I'm trying to say is that, if we have a strong immune system, and that's from being able to deal with stress in an effective way, it's less likely that we'll be affected by the common cold, like you brought up. Yeah. Just to discuss that issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And, once we take a look at this and we have a sense of it, then we can really capture the essence of, wait a minute, now I know what's going on with me. And how can I possibly start to look at this as a gift?
Right. Exactly. Because the thing is that, when I tell, often I, get into this with my patients as well. And I can't with everybody, because not all my patients are at that level of thinking where they can see their illness in that way, but some of them can. And the ones who I have look at it this way, they eventually can get to the root of that. And I can share a story of an example of a patient if you'd like to. Okay,
please do.
So I'm a pulmonologist and a critical care specialist. So as a pulmonologist, I deal with lung disease. So there's this woman in her 50s. Let's just call her Lisa. She came to me with symptoms of shortness of breath and chest pain. And, I did the usual tests, and that included an x-ray and a CAT scan of her chest. And the CAT scan is just a 3-dimensional x-ray. And I found inflammation in her lungs. Okay. So, we tried to go to her history to see if she had been exposed to anything. And there's like 50 different causes of this kind of condition. And I even did a procedure called a bronchoscopy, where I look in her lungs and try to find out if I can find the source of that. And I didn't find anything. So we were scheduling her to do a lung biopsy, a surgical lung biopsy, to get to the root of this. In the meantime, she's from Trinidad, so she went on a trip back to her home country. And she was away for 3 weeks. And when she came back to see me, she said, "You know what, doctor? All my symptoms have gone away." And I said, "Wow, that's incredible. We should probably repeat some of your tests." But then I started asking her, I started diving more deeply into, well, tell me what was different about being in Trinidad. And she said, well, and what I actually, just to make a long story short, she went there without her husband. And then when I talking further, she had told me that her husband was emotionally abusive. Their marriage had been strained. And I helped her uncover this. And she already knew this. It's just that she wasn't willing to face that reality. And that's why she was having all these symptoms. So when she came back, I helped her uncover this. And she decided she was going to make some changes in her life and move on. And she did. And I'm happy to say that her symptoms have resolved. Now, we still have to repeat the x-rays to see what's happened to the condition in her lungs. But she is no longer suffering from the effects of that. So that's just an example.
Step. It's huge. I mean, what you're talking about is a huge step in the process. And it is a step that doctors just don't bring to the surface. And kudos to you for doing that. That opens up the door for, something else you talk about in your book. And I want to talk with you about this when we come back. And it is this idea of clearing now, beyond what you just shared, clearing some of the subconscious beliefs, but more importantly, subconscious blocks, but more importantly, the beliefs we have. Yes. What if you hear the words, "You have this," or "You have stage blank of this"?
Right.
What can you do about that? Stay tuned. We're going to talk about that and a lot more. We'll be right back.
Be you plus live your purpose equals joy. That's the motto of Unstuck Joy with Vicki Todd. Vicki believes you were born with gifts that are meant to make the world brighter. Each show will feature an art visioning journal prompt to help you create your way to soul clarity. If you're ready to get unstuck and create more joy, this show is for you. Tune in every month on Transformation Talk Radio. For more information, visit VickiWorldArt.com.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Brand consultant Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help you take control of your future and maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're an individual trying to reinvent yourself and launch a new venture, or you're an executive trying to reposition your company to modernize your sales and marketing programs, Jen Morgan and the RAD method empower you to play to your strengths and show up in the world as your most powerful brand. To learn more, go to jenmorgan.com. That's Jen with 2 N's Morgan.com, or call 206-972-5366.
TheAngelLady.net. 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 1-800-323-1790. 1-800-323-1790. Sue Storm. TheAngelLady.net.
Do you want to heal your body and mind? Your body has a lot to tell you if you just learn to listen to your intuition. Audrey Michelle, host of Rewired Life Radio, can help you peel away the layers that are holding you back from living your best life. Tune in to Rewired Life Radio. Learn to love, heal, celebrate on Transformation Talk Radio every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Connect with Audrey at audreymichelle.com.
Amber Teal, founder of The Healthy Edge, is bringing you the hit show Healthy Edge Radio, living with power, passion, and purpose. Amber provides the support and tools necessary for you to finally release the weight and emotions that are hidden beneath the weight. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio. For more information on how you can take the next step with Amber, visit getthehealthyedge.com.
Something so good. I'm wondering, can we still be friends? Can we still be friends?
Welcome back, everyone. Healing from the inside out, overcome chronic illness, and radically change your life. Dr. Naeem joining me here today. And we are just, scratching the surface on the many, many things in the book. Again, please let folks know how they can find out more about you and also how they can get a copy of the book.
Great. So like I mentioned earlier, you can find my website at healingfromtheinsideoutbook.com. Also my name, NaumanNaeem.com, NaumanNaeem.com. They both take you to the same site. My book is available on Amazon.com as a pre-order right now. You can actually, in the U.S., it's available. You can get it right away. In Canada, it's still a pre-order until September the 22nd. And Indigo.ca for the Canadian listeners. Indigo.ca also carries my book right now.
Wow. Well, there's so much in here. And also it's clear to me that, not only have your patients gone on a journey, but you've gone on a journey with them, because when I read the book and I'm looking at some of the things in here that you come to the surface and pinpoint, it's very clear to me that there's a part of the journey that a physician can take with a patient. And there's a part of a journey that they don't choose to take. And when I think about this and what you've got in the book, you've taken the journey, because here you are talking about limited beliefs. And I wanted to talk with you about that, because the minute that we hear the words, you have blank, something happens. What have you discovered about limiting beliefs? And what is the remedy, if I could even say that, for helping people that are chronically ill cultivate beliefs that will help them?
Excellent. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mind, because if we're going to talk about this, we actually have to talk about the mind. Our behavior is largely subconscious. If you know Bruce Lipton, he's written a wonderful book called The Biology of Belief. He has other books besides that, but that's his kind of signature work. And he's really uncovered this. And, basically 95% of our behavior is subconscious. And most of our subconscious, and 5% is conscious. And most of that subconscious behavior is programmed in our early childhood, almost by the time we're 7 or 8 years old. And this really, really had a practical application for me, and has for most physicians. And I'll talk about that. We're always telling our patients, quit smoking, stop eating junk food or processed food and start exercising. Every physician has told one of their patients to do this. But what we find is that in terms of quitting smoking, only 12% of the patients, roughly 12%, are successful. Mm-hmm. And I never truly understood that. Why? Until I started taking this journey to write this book. And what I learned is that when we telling our patients to do something, what we are doing is we're speaking to their motivation and willpower, which lies in the conscious mind, which is only 5% of our behavior. 95% of our behavior is in the subconscious mind. And that is why, just through motivation and willpower, it's often not enough to change those deep underlying behaviors. So, and most of these behaviors are programmed in our early childhood. So I started researching and exploring. How do we change those subconscious behaviors? Well, hypnosis has been around for a long time, and that is one way in which that can be done, and with the help of an expert in that area. But I'm not an expert in hypnosis, and not everyone may have access to that.
Right.
So I describe in my book a process that I have come up with, and I use a great analogy for the human mind, which I'm sure you recall, from reading the book, in that, I see the subconscious mind as like a storage closet in our basement. If you don't regularly clean it out, it's going to accumulate dust and, unwanted visitors and that sort of thing. And limiting beliefs, let me talk about limiting beliefs. A belief is something that you hold as valid, whether or not there's proof of its validity. So a limiting belief, by definition, is a belief which keeps you from achieving your true potential. And limiting beliefs have their root in the subconscious mind. And that's based on my research and what I've learned. So I have a process for eliminating limiting beliefs. And that is, first you have to identify that you have a limiting belief. And the way I help patients and clients do that is look at a regular pattern of personal challenges and negative thought patterns.
Yeah.
And I can give you I'll give you an example.
Please.
Go ahead. Sorry, you wanted to say something.
No, I would love to have an example because, they say the proof is in the pudding, really. And,
exactly.
When you hear the words, you have stage 4 cancer, automatically something happens and something clicks in. The question is, what's the story that you are going to create as a result of that? And
exactly.
I think that's really, part of the learning, part of the inside part of what's being said to you on the outside. Right.
So the thing is, words have a lot of power. They have a lot of power and thoughts and words. And when a doctor is seen as a person of authority, and when a physician tells you something like that, like you have stage 4 cancer and you only have 6 months to live, basically, if a patient takes that to heart, it's going to basically determine the course of their disease, their illness, and their whole life from that moment forward. And it's I can see as a physician being on the other side why that can happen. The thing is, though, what I help patients and clients do is to become empowered and to actually eliminate any limiting belief that they may have. And it could be around illness, it could be around relationships, finances, or whatever. But for the sake of our discussion, let's talk about a very common limiting belief that I find, and which most people have, and that is that I am not good enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a limiting belief that the majority of people suffer from at one stage or another. And what I have found that a lot of times, most of the time, that is rooted in some sort of early childhood experience where they had an experience where they were made to feel unworthy or made to feel less than what they are. Yeah. And that's where it had originated. So,
that's self-worth. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
It affects their self-worth.
Your self-worth and lack of self-love. So I help my patients and clients identify those through recurrent series of negative thoughts and personal challenges. And an example of that could be someone who has had, just to talk about a non-health example, someone, say, who's had a series of failed relationships. If someone has had a series of failed relationships or always gravitates to the same kind of person who obviously is not right for them, they likely have a limiting belief around relationships or their ability or their self-worth or the ability to find love or to be loved, something of that nature. So I try to look for a series of a pattern of personal challenges in a specific area of their life. And once I've helped the patient identify that, then I ask them if it holds any validity. And then most of the time I can get my patients or the clients to agree that, this holds no validity at all, because it's the meaning that they have ascribed to that experience or set of experiences that led to that limiting belief that they are not good enough. So it's a meaning that they have ascribed to that. So then what I do is I ask them to find evidence to prove that their limiting belief is not true. So let's look at the example of I'm not good enough. In almost all cases, I'm able to help that client find examples where they have been good enough. And I help them look at their triumphs, their goals they've achieved, other positive experiences in their life. So I'm able to help them find that evidence.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're looking at too. Right. We're looking at the idea of providing a pathway where the dots are connected for us so that we can look at on the inside what we can now choose to believe.
Exactly.
And I think that's, that's what you're talking about in your book, but you're also talking about the fact that, integrating and implementing the entire thing is what this is about. We're going to take a short break and we come back. What is it that happens when we do a piece over here, a piece over there, and how do we get past the decoding of whatever the story is? And then the game changer is, what is the path to change? How do we integrate? How do we line it up? And then how do we practice it? That we're only going to be able to talk a little bit about this today, but would love to give a copy of the book away. 1-800-930-2819. Mr. Benny, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Awareness is universal. Establishing a living awareness through meditation brings peaceful, healthy, and creative well-being into your everyday life. The practice of living awareness, Spirit Fire's own meditation practice, is built on this belief and is designed for every level of practitioner. Each year, Spirit Fire hosts living awareness meditation retreats that allow you to explore the practice in depth at our retreat center in beautiful Western Massachusetts. Introduce yourself to meditation and the practice at the Foundation's retreat. Attend, in silence, a silent meditation retreat focused on mindfulness, presence, and nature, or be engaged with the meditation sittings themselves at the Deepening Retreat. Start adding to your awareness and attend a meditation retreat designed to cultivate consciousness in your everyday life. For details on attending a Living Awareness meditation retreat, visit upcoming events at www.spiritfire.com.
This episode is brought to you in part by Moon Recording. Moon Recording is our proud home here at A Life Untethered and is located in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. If you have any recording needs, you should definitely check them out. They offer affordable recording services to musicians and podcasters, and their friendly staff specializes in recording everything from full bands to vocals in their vocal production suite. For 1 hour free, visit moon.nyc and enter code UNTETHERED when booking your first session.
Thrive is what we experience when our mind, body, and soul operate as one. When we thrive, we excel on all levels. Thrive is the mindset that matters. It is essential to our being. Have you ever found yourself looking for the instruction manual on how to thrive? You'll find everything you need to help you feel strong, powerful, and peaceful in your own body. So don't waste any more time. Visit thrivebyjen.com today.
Have you ever said to a friend, I am trying to be less stressed. I am hoping to meet someone special. Or how about, I am working on getting a job I love. Hi, I'm Eve from Elite Tarot, host of the weekly show Mainstream Metaphysics Radio. Words like hoping, wanting, and trying may seem innocent. However, they carry with them emotional weight that actually blocks energy. Next time you start to say these words, say instead, I am becoming less stressed. I am looking forward to meeting someone special. I am pursuing a job I love. While your brain may resist, note how your body physically feels as possibility of success suddenly appears. As an intuitive coach and professional tarot card reader, I work with clients worldwide on using energy effectively to embrace joy. If you'd like to schedule a session, please visit my website at elitetarot.com. That's ELITETAROT.com.
Can't see the bottom. I just wanna dive in with you. I just wanna lie here with you.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Healing from the inside out. Dr. Naeem, thank you for joining me here today. And as I said before, there's a lot in the book that we're going to be able to talk about, and then there's a lot in the book that folks are going to have to pick up the book and read. But I thought what would be really important to talk about is this idea of integrating, the process. And what does integrating mean? Because those of us that understand natural medicine as well as natural medicine to include body, mind, and spirit, the integration process is actually what you lead with. And, part of the problem is conventional medicine, not so much. But here you are, I'm reading your book, and you're really an advocate of this. And I'd love for you to just tell our listeners, what does integration mean to you?
Well, what integration means to me is to realize that we are multidimensional beings beyond the physical, which is the mental, the emotional, and the vibrational, and the spiritual. And what I do in my book is, I break this down throughout my process. And the way I help, my patients start to take this journey is through asking questions, because asking the right question can change the course of your life. And there's a chapter, I'm sure you've seen that, where I have questions at the end of each of the chapters on the healing process, where that individuals can ask themselves, readers can ask themselves, or a practitioner can ask their clients to help to get them starting to think about, cultivating all these different areas of their life, because really it all starts with questions, and the whole process starts with awareness. Awareness of who we truly are beyond the physical. So it all starts with awareness. And then there's a whole chapter where I talk about that as well, I'm sure, that after I talk about the healing process. Because often it can be overwhelming and daunting to take this journey. And I allude to that in my book, that it takes courage. And
you're right on. I'm telling you, you just nailed it right there, because it does take courage. People said to me, Pat, we think you lost your mind, Pat. Well, what natural, what? I'm from the East Coast, right? So you come out here and they're like, what are you, natural? What are you doing? And
Right.
you know what? It's hard to explain, isn't it, Doctor? It's really hard to explain why we would choose that. But
It is.
looking
It
back,
is
it's
hard. Yeah.
not.
It's not, because you know what? I have gotten, it's interesting, I love the power of stories. I mean, there's patients who have walked into my office and they lay out their story of their illness and their symptoms. And then I start, like, I can start to see that, I mean, within 5 minutes, you can tell that there's deeper issues, right? And then I've had people, like, I start asking them more questions about their life story, about, what they've been through, their emotional health, their thoughts. And I've had people just break down in tears, like right in front of me, because number one, they finally have to face those issues, and someone has the compassion to ask them when no one else has even bothered to go there. I mean, just today, I don't know if you have time for another quick story.
We've got about, I think we're good for about 4 minutes, so go for it.
So I'm seeing a patient right now who's actually in the hospital. She's been admitted with COPD exacerbation. COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's lung disease from smoking. So I went in to talk to her today, and I didn't even ask her. She just kind of broke down and started saying, she was talking about how she didn't sleep well last night and she had to sleep with the lights on. And she started telling me all this started because I was raped by my father-in-law when I was a child.
Wow.
And this was without even me asking her. And then she started diving into that. And then, without getting into too much detail, because we can go on for a long time, but basically what I told her is that, you can't change the past. What has happened, but you can change, you can feel your feelings, because it seems to me that you have not dealt with those feelings of anger and rage and bitterness and grief around that event. And I also said, you may not be able to forgive, because he had passed a long time ago. You may not be able to forgive him, but you can forgive yourself, because this was not your fault. You can burn through all those unresolved feelings and forgive yourself. And that gave her a pause to think. And then, she was grateful for, giving her that little insight that may start her on the path to getting well, to healing.
Well, I think what you shared is really important, because I think we have a general assumption about about what it means to be a human being. And I think one of the assumptions we have is something that seems so obvious people should just get. But no, that's not true. Because while it's obvious to someone like you who works with people and helps them as an individual, you can't see yourself really well. And I think that's what you're doing.
Exactly. And that's why, I highly recommend that, people seek out someone, a coach, a mentor, someone to help facilitate this journey. Because if it was obvious to each of us, chronic disease wouldn't be on the rise. It wouldn't be, we wouldn't have the healthcare crisis that we have here in U.S. and Canada, and probably and globally as well. Although I don't know much about other healthcare systems as I do about the U.S. and Canada, but we wouldn't have the healthcare crisis that we have, the chronic disease crisis that we have today, if people were able to do this on their own. So I really encourage people to find someone who can help facilitate this journey, whether it's a health coach, whether it's a naturopath, whether it's a healer. There's so many people out there that are doing this kind of work. It's not just me. And there's a lot of other people out there that have written books way before me. Everyone knows Deepak Chopra. There's Bernie Siegel, who wrote the foreword to my book. And more recently, there's Lissa Rankin, who's also an MD, who has taken this journey. So there's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
There's no lack of information and knowledge. It's just a lack of what I would say maybe willingness to go deeper within to those parts that often frighten us.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just summarize by saying this. If 50% of 50% of all doctors out there were to read and practice what you have in your book, it still wouldn't be enough. to help the people in the world. So there can never be too many of you out there talking about it. Thank you so much for today. Again, please tell people how they can find out more about you and get a copy of the book.
Excellent. So the website is healingfromtheinsideoutbook.com. Also, my name, Nauman Naeem, NAUMAN, but it may be easier just to go to healingfromtheinsideoutbook.com. And then there's a link there to Amazon. You can get it on Amazon.com in the U.S. You can get it right away in the U.S. In Canada, you still have to wait a few weeks. You can get it at indigo.ca, and it will be at all major bookstores in both the U.S., Canada, and globally by September 22nd. So.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. Thank you for today. And everybody, the book is called Healing from the Inside Out, Overcome Chronic Disease and Radically Change Your Life. Thank you, Dr. Naeem. Thank you. We're going to take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back.
Preceding audio was via a Skype call.